Here is what stopped me cold in the middle of a July heat wave. Damp charcoal drops room temperature by several degrees with zero electricity. $7, no moving parts, and it has been working for 3,000 years. I was in my apartment at midnight, fan just recycling hot air, and I stumbled onto this almost by accident. I went looking and found out this is a 3,000-year-old principle that Persian architects engineered into their buildings, and that most of the modern world completely forgot. 24 hours later, I had it built. The thermometer dropped 4 degrees Celsius, about 7 degrees Fahrenheit, in under 2 hours. $7, no electricity, no moving parts, 15 minutes to build. If you are in Texas, Florida, Arizona, or anywhere a heat wave means 104 degrees for weeks at a stretch, this was made for you. I'm going to show you how the physics works, the exact parts you need, how to put it together in under 15 minutes, and how to scale it from a bedroom to a barn. Before the physics, here is the number that made me take this seriously. A 2022 study in the Journal of Engineering and Applied Science measured a maximum temperature drop of 11 degrees Celsius in a single room using this kind of build, and multiple peer-reviewed studies have documented drops of 10 to 15 degrees below outside air. In a heat wave, that is the difference between sleeping and not sleeping, $7. Now the physics: evaporation pulls heat from surfaces as moisture leaves them, and that is your body's entire cooling system. What activated charcoal does is supercharge that principle. A single gram has a surface area of 500 to 1/500 square meters, the most porous natural material known to exist. The surface area of a small apartment and a piece of material the size of your thumbnail. Those pores hold water. Warm, dry air moves across the wet surface. Evaporation happens on a massive scale, and the air comes out cooler and cleaner. Cooler because of evaporation. Cleaner because activated charcoal simultaneously binds to volatile organic compounds, odors, airborne bacteria, mold spores, and particulates, the same material inside water filters, and $200 to $400 air purifiers, running passively for free as long as you keep it damp. One tray, doing all 3 jobs for $7. If you have animals, a barn, a chicken coop, a dog kennel, the filtration function alone is worth the price. Ammonia and hydrogen sulfide build up fast in animal enclosures during summer heat, and activated charcoal absorbs them chemically. You're not masking the odor, you're removing it. Persian architects were building wind towers called badgirs as far back as 1000 BCE. A tall shaft built into a building with openings at the top to catch prevailing winds and channel them down into the rooms below. At the base, wet charcoal and saturated clay pots forced all incoming air through the damp material before it entered the room, cooling it 4 to 6 degrees before it ever touched a person. The most famous surviving badger is in Yazd, Iran, a desert city where summer temperatures regularly exceed 104 degrees F, and buildings with badgers maintained interior temperatures 8 to 12 degrees lower than outside air during peak afternoon heat. No electricity, no refrigerant. They figured this out 3,000 years ago, and we forgot it because someone figured out how to sell us something that plugs into the wall. What you need? Activated charcoal, the kind sold for aquarium filters, loose black granules at any pet store or on Amazon. A 500-degree bag costs $5 to $8 and fills a standard baking tray. Do not use barbecue briquettes. Different material will not work. A shallow tray, anything that holds charcoal in a layer with air moving across it. Spread it 3 to 5 centimeters deep, saturate with water, let it absorb for 5 minutes, then drain any standing water. Wet, like a sponge, not pooled. And a source of airflow. An open window works. A small fan aimed across the tray is better. Placement matters more than size. A tray in the middle of the room does almost nothing. Place it on the floor near your air intake so all incoming air passes across the charcoal before it reaches you. That is the difference between a curiosity and a system. Re-wet every morning, it dries out overnight. For a small room, 1 baking tray unit is enough. For a larger space, 2 or 3 trays at different intake points compound the effect. For animal enclosures, build an open-sided frame lined with hardware cloth. Fill it with charcoal 6 to 8 centimeters deep and mount it in the ventilation opening where air enters. Heat stress in poultry begins at 86 degrees F and becomes fatal above 100. Evaporative cooling works best when humidity is below about 50%. In dry climates, the Southwest, Texas, Nevada, the Great Plains, the performance is dramatic. In humid climates, the Gulf Coast or the Southeast, the temperature drop will be closer to 3 to 4 degrees rather than 8 to 10, still useful. Recharge the charcoal every month or 2 by spreading it in direct sunlight for a full day. UV and heat release the absorbed compounds and reset it to full capacity. 1 bag maintained lasts an entire season. A standard home air conditioner costs $150 to $400 per summer, needs maintenance, and when it breaks in week 3 of July, you're not sleeping. This costs $7, runs on water and filters, cools, and deodorizes the air simultaneously. Works for a bedroom, a barn, a camper van, a dorm room, anything with airflow. Persian architects were engineering this into civic buildings 3,000 years ago, and those buildings are still standing and still studied. We did not forget this because it stopped working. We forgot it because someone figured out how to sell us something that plugs into the wall instead. Now you know how to unplug. If this gave you something useful, share it with someone about to spend money they do not need to spend on cooling this summer. The subscribe button is how this channel keeps digging these things up.